packed show today. We'll have Scott Franzke and a Franzke Friday, Daily Mock. WrestleMania is in town. Good morning, Hugh.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Phillies. Hey, fellas, when buying draws, stay away from the white ones. Trust me on this. Just stay away from the white draws. Buy any other color but white. Trust me.
I'll trust you. I usually trust the Daily Douglas. I'm not going to argue with this one today. All right, and of course it is a try-day on a Friday. We'll get to that. But Hugh, last night, a very big Sixers game. In fact, I would say the biggest Sixers game of the year, all things considered. Embiid back, second game, down in Miami. A chance here because of the schedule. They have the easiest schedule now after this Miami game down the stretch of the season. They have a chance to not only avoid, let's say the Celtics in the first round by being the 8th seed, but Hugh, they have a chance to avoid playing in the play-in at all. If they play well down the stretch after last night's victory, they could. I mean, they're only a game back of being the 6th seed. Last night, 109-105 down in Miami. And, Hugh, it just feels different this year. This end of the season, heading into the playoffs, feels different. In the last, 4 or 5 years, they've had a combination of injuries to Joel Embiid, question marks about the coach, or a loser on the court. I mean, that was either Ben Simmons or James Harden. They had a loser on the court, they had injury issues, or they had question marks at the coach. Right now, they don't have any of those things. They don't have a Harden or a Ben that we're going to fold in a big spot. They don't have a question mark at coach because I think Nick Nurse is an excellent coach. And right now, Hugh, Joel Embiid is healthy. After all the rest, after the surgery, it's a different feeling as we get close to the postseason.
Yeah, man, and I know he only gave you 29 minutes last night, a little bit less than he did the other night. But it's obvious that when the big fella's out there, man, this is a different team. Kelly Oubre, to me, is that third guy. His scoring in spurts has been tremendous over this stretch that we've been in, and they're just playing with a little bit more of a swagger. It's like they got their big brother back, and now they're ready to go out there and make some noise.
Well, and then let's throw in Tyrese Maxey, who, has obviously had a tremendous season, an all-star, and he's taken that leap this year that everyone was hoping he was going to, that Hugh felt about a year ago, Hugh, he could take this leap. Well, he has, and last night he was the best player they had. I mean, obviously Embiid being back changes things, but last night, they actually were negative on the court in terms of allowed points scored when Joel was out there. The difference last night was Maxey went off 37, Hugh. I mean, we need one of your guys to have a big night every once in a while, and Maxey was the guy last night, your guy.
Yeah, man, and, he almost had a triple-double. He was out there having fun, and both of those guys are kind of getting back into the rhythm because Maxey was kind of off for a little while, but man, it's looking good down the stretch, and they're starting to figure out a way to try to incorporate Joel Embiid back in there. Looked really good last night.
Yeah, and here's the reality of what they've been this season. It has been a weird year because they played really well in the beginning. Now, some of that was against some bad teams that just the way the schedule kind of broke out early. And then Embiid got hurt. And then they played a lot of good teams. And then they got smoked because that's just what's going to happen without your best player in the NBA. And now Embiid is back. But here are the numbers. When Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey play together, when they both play, the Sixers have a .794 winning percentage. The best team in the league, the Boston Celtics, has a .789 winning percentage. Like when Maxey and Embiid are on the court together, the Sixers play, in terms of wins and losses, as good as anybody in the league. Now, do I think they're as good as Boston? I don't. Boston's starting five is as good as you'll find in the NBA in a long time. But they play. They win at an amazing clip this year when they've got Maxey and Embiid. And I know you, Brent, you mentioned Oubre. Like, they don't have a traditional third best player, right? Like, when you think of NBA championship kind of teams.
And then you're talking about that third guy.
Yeah, I mean,
but Kelly Oubre plays well, though, man. He plays gritty.
He can in spurts, but they don't have that guy, and that's just the reality. Like, it does it in spurts. Tobias, please. He watched last night. I think they were better off for it. Melton has had the injury issues for a while now. But despite that, Hugh, they win a lot, with really just Maxey and Embiid, and, it's kind of a revolving door. It's like, who's going to step up each night to be the third guy? Your guy, Oubre. Is he your guy now officially, Oubre?
I mean, he's playing well. He's not my guy.
He's your guy.
He's not my guy, but he's playing well. I think when you talk about somebody with the other mix of guys that they have, you talk about somebody that can come in and give you something, like you said, in spurts. I like what he brings to the table.
Well, and I like the way they play when it's Embiid and Maxey playing off each other. Now you factor in a guy like Kyle Lowry, who got here in the midst of Embiid not being here, 8 points last night. Like, I'm not expecting a lot from Lowry, but if he could drop 10 or 12 a game in the playoffs, we get to that number, that's going to help. I've done this. We've all done this many times in the middle of March, beginning of April. We get fooled. There's a moment we all kind of get fooled by the Sixers, and then we regret it 3 weeks to a month later. And perhaps I will look back on this day and this week as when I got fooled. But I am genuinely excited for what the next 3 to 4 weeks could be, because I look at the specter of the Eastern Conference. Like right now, if I pull up the standings in the Eastern Conference, there is not a single team outside of the Celtics that I'm like, uh-oh, they got to play them. If the Sixers get in right now and could get to the 7, it would be Milwaukee. If they could somehow get to the 6, we're talking about the Cavaliers or the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic? Can anyone listening name 4 players on the Magic? I mean, honestly. Banchero, they drafted last year. I mean, that's not a playoff team. That's not a team that wins playoff series. They're a young team. This is set up for the Sixers to finally do something, and maybe this is the way it had to be. Maybe this is why this year feels different, because instead of having the hope in January and February, I gave up in February when Embiid had surgery. I was out. I thought this thing is over. Maybe this is the way it had to be, where we all kind of gave up or kind of checked out for a little bit. And maybe this is the way they make a run.
And now you're back in. Yeah, I think it's a good point that you make, Joe, because especially when you look at how tightly grouped everybody is. Like, that was a must-win last night against Miami. And when you look at the standings, I don't know what they are right now, but I'm saying you're like, what, 5 or 6 games out of the 6th spot or something like that?
Oh, no. I mean, if they're 5 or 6, they'd be buried. They're only 1 game out of the 6th spot.
No, what I meant to say was they're like 5 or 6 from being in like the number 2 spot.
Oh, the gap
like
between.
Yep. The gap between everybody, because everybody has like 40-some-odd wins. I think the most is like 46.
So the Bucks are 47 and 29. They're the 2. The gap between the Bucks and, let's say, the 6, okay, is just 4.5 games. The gap between the Bucks and the Heat and Sixers in the 7-8, Hugh, that's what you were saying. That's 6 games. It's 6 games that separates it. The Sixers are. I mean, that shows you what this conference is this year. There's one great team. That's the Boston Celtics. Everybody else, they're basically the same. 215-592-9494. Does it feel different? Does this year feel different for the Sixers? A big win last night. I mean, this is as good of a week as the Sixers have had in a very long time.